Hi, guys. Thanks again for joining another episode of Future Forward, the podcast where I help you navigate this ever-changing world. And today I just want to talk about setting goals, primarily in regards to why it is so difficult for people to stay on their goals, or for people to achieve those goals and stay committed to them, right? And the first thing and the biggest culprit of your inability to reach your goals being the idea behind the goals, the reason why you're doing it, right? So if a goal is made with a superficial result at the end, right, you're less likely to feel as connected to it than if a goal is made with some sort of result that ties into an identity that you would want to have at the end of that period, right? So if you're only thinking about being rich and that's your only goal, that's fine. But if you're not thinking about who you would become when you become rich, right, then your goals will not be powerful enough for you to chase them, right? So it's that bit of visualization where you are not just chasing that goal, but you're chasing the future you within that goal, or the future you that will be attained at the end of that goal, right? And this now creates a more intimate relationship with your goals, and it's now something that you drive more towards because it's a version of yourself that you want to experience. You want to live in that person's life that has achieved that goal, right, as that person, or you want to see yourself at the end of the road and what that looks like for you, and the gratification that will come from that, right, is what will create a goal that is worth chasing and that is easier to stay committed to, right? And the biggest thing the biggest element that affects your ability to achieve your goals is instant gratification, right? Instant gratification is the biggest killer of dreams, right? If you are setting a goal, you want to finish school, you want to get good grades, and yet every other weekend you're stepping out with your friends whenever they call you to go partying, rather than staying in and studying, right? You want to start that new business, and every weekend you're going out with your friends instead of taking that time to go to a coffee shop and do research, right? So when you gain momentum, right, you gain momentum towards your goal, and then you decide to break that momentum by going to satisfy whatever urge superficial experience will give you, right, it becomes very hard for you to then be able to go back and pick up from the momentum that you left, right? Because momentum doesn't work like that. If you break it, you have to start again, right? If you have been in any sort of artistic or creative pursuits ever in your life, you will know what is known as a flow state, right? If you aren't able to maintain that flow state consistently until that thing is achieved that you want to achieve, you're constantly going to be starting again, and it will take you weeks, maybe months, to get into flow state again, right? Where everything just flows, where your thoughts are just working, everything is just, it's happening in parallel to your desires, right? Everything is going in the right places. It becomes a very difficult thing to gain after you break it. So what I mean by this is, if you're constantly breaking your momentum, you are essentially taking 2 steps forward, right? Then taking 2 steps to the right, then taking another 2 steps to the right, then another 2 steps to the right, and you end up back where you started. You're just walking in circles, right? So the thing is, if you decide to set a goal and achieve that goal, you have to know 2 things are going to come from it, or 2 things are going to have to be achieved or maintained for you to be able to reach that goal. The first thing is sacrifice. You're going to have to let go of all those things that do take up the time that you would have used to develop your ideas further, right? Any leisure activities like going out on the weekend, if you work a 9 to 5, right? Weekends are going to give you the most time for you to actually, work on your own personal pursuits, right? So if you are going to sacrifice those weekends, every weekend for an entire year, you will be able to get to your goals much faster because you have been in a flow state throughout the entire year, right? So at the end of the year, something good is going to come out of that, right? But you have to be willing to sacrifice, which is why they say it's a sacrifice, right? Because yes, tomorrow is not promised, right? You could kick the bucket in 6 months or something, or something tragic could happen, God forbid. But, that is the sacrifice part of it. You sacrificing a good time, not knowing whether you ever have it again, to chase your pursuits, right? And those people who make that sacrifice are the ones that get rewarded, right? Those people who stay in that flow state are the ones that achieve those goals that they set out to achieve, right? So, the biggest thing is not just that you commit to your goal, but that you be consistent with your goal, right? Be consistent in the actions that drive you closer towards your goals, right? Don't just start something and then all of a sudden stop it for a little bit, decide to hang out with your friends, go on a trip, and then get back to it. It doesn't work like that, because once you break the consistency, you break the mental framework, you break the thought processes you had developed throughout that time. For you to develop one good idea, it could take 3 weeks of you being in a flow state, right? So now if you're in a flow state for 3 weeks, you develop one good idea, right? Then in turn, instead of now growing that idea, right, or going deeper into that idea, you decide to engage in some sort of a distraction that breaks the momentum. And now that idea means nothing. It's got no weight to it, because you have now broken down all the thought processes. You've thrown them out, right? So now you have to start again, right? So I think for the most part, with trying to achieve your goals, always set goals that mean something to you emotionally, right? That are tied to your identity in some way, shape, or form, right? And then 2, always be ready to make the sacrifice, because the moment you decide to do anything, the first thing you're going to experience is resistance, right? The moment you decide today's the day I'm going to start, you're going to feel that agitation in your stomach that you feel when you feel like you're depriving yourself of something more pleasurable than what you're doing now, right? And you have to become comfortable being in that state, right? You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to live with that agitation until it eventually gives way, right? And now you're just in a flow state, right? So it's just like a muscle. As you start working out, initially, all you feel is pain and no results, right? It all just looks like pain in the beginning and no results. But the longer you push it, the results start to show, right? So you have to stay consistent, and, without sacrifice, you will never be able to get to those goals that you set out for yourself, right? So be willing to forego that which you enjoy doing the most for that which you would enjoy doing later on, or enjoy having later on once you've achieved it, right? There's a give and take. Nothing comes without a cost, right? So the cost of you reaching your goals, right, is sacrificing, pleasure right now. All right, that's all I have for today, guys. I will see you on the next episode. Thanks for watching.